Councillors. Good evening, members of council, ladies and gentlemen, staff. I see that we have quorum, and I call this regular meeting of the Town of Pelham Council to order. We'll begin with an invocation, which I will lead, followed by the singing of the national anthem, led by Councillor Papp, and I would ask all who are able to rise. Dear Lord, among the hills in the summer, when we sit in the cool shade of the trees and share in the peace and serenity of the distant fields and meadows of our town, our heart knows that you, Lord, rest in reason. And when the storm comes and the mighty wind shakes the trees and the snow and the sleet proclaim the majesty of the sky, our heart knows that you, Lord, move in passion. And so, Lord, as our new council begins its first business meeting of this particular term, please send your Spirit upon each councillor so that we too might rest in reason during our deliberations this evening. And we pray that following our meeting, the council and town staff will move in passion to execute our decisions and policies. Amen.
O Canada, our home and native land, true patron of, in all thy Son's command, with glowing hearts we see thee rise, the true north, strong and free. From far and wide, O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land glorious and free. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
Thank you, Councillor Papp. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. It has been moved by Councillor Kersey, seconded by Councillor Papp, that the agenda for the December 15th, 2014 regular meeting of council be adopted. Are there any additions to the agenda? There is one resolution. This is regarding the Association of Municipalities of Ontario request for nominations to Board of Directors. Councillor Kersey, would you move that, the addition of that?
So moved.
And Councillor Ribiak, you'll second that? Calling the question on that amendment to the agenda, and that'll go at 11:43. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. And now to the main motion. Are there any other amendments to the changes to the agenda? There being none, I call the question as amended. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. The next item is disclosure of pecuniary interest and the general nature thereof. That is any conflicts of interest. Do any members have any conflicts they need to declare at this time?
No, Mr. Mayor.
No member has indicated a conflict. Can that be so noted in the minutes? Thank you. Now we'll move to presentations. And as I indicated earlier, we do have some presentations. I want to start off by thanking everybody for attending. And look at the wonderful artwork that we received this year. It's a tremendous response from our community, from schools, from students in schools across the community who wanted to participate in our art contest for the Christmas card, the holiday greeting card. So this card has been developed, and we will be, as I mentioned beforehand, we have 10 cards like this that we'll present to each of the recipients, those that were selected to appear on the card. There's one on the main front. There are 5 on the back of the card. And then there are 8, I believe, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 on the inside as well. The inside of the card says warmest wishes for a happy holiday season and a wonderful new year. The cards that I send on behalf of council say Mayor Dave Augustine and Town Pelham Town Council. The cards that you have 10 in each of those packages there that you can send to your loved ones. It doesn't have that part about council. We do send these cards to businesses in town. We send them to volunteers. We send them to community groups like the service clubs. But we also send them to other levels of government, so other mayors and councillors in the region. And we send them to the Prime Minister. We send them to the Premier. We send them to the Lieutenant Governor. And just a quick story on sending it to the Lieutenant Governor. When His Honor David Onley was Lieutenant Governor, I sent a card and hand wrote in it, please come and see our fully accessible playgrounds, our 9 accessible playgrounds. And His Honor, one of his main missions was to expand accessibility. So I sent that in December of 2012. In 2013, in May, his office called and said, we're responding to your Christmas card and we'd like to visit. And that's what prompted his visit. So the cards are well recognized and certainly well received. So I want to thank all of those that put forward their artwork and spent a lot of time. You'll see as you look through this, there's lots and lots of time into this art. And on behalf of council, I want to say thank you very much. So without further ado, I would ask Councillor Accursi, who is the Deputy Mayor, to assist me in handing out, we have a little certificate for you and the packages. You can do photos if you want at this time individually, or we will be doing a group photo later. Wayne from the paper has asked that we do a group photo later on, and we'll be doing that right in front of council here. Okay? You wouldn't mind helping, Councillor? Thank you.
Okay.
Okay?
They were generic.
So we're going to go in alphabetical order. And the first one goes to Natalie Anderson. And there's her, we put it on the inside. So Natalie, come on up and thank you very much for your hard work. I love that one. And look, even a window outside, putting up the work in there. So congratulations and thank you very much for that. Thank you. Let's give her a round of applause. The next one is Adriana, how do you say that name, bud? Fanaza. Adriana, congratulations. That's wonderful. Look at this. All the colors and everything here. It's wonderful that you even stuck the sand in there. Congratulations. Great job.
Congratulations.
Actually, if you could give a round of applause. And if you guys could you wait up there? Could you wait up there?
Do you want them to have this?
I guess not. They should probably give it back to the parents. They should probably have the certificate though. The certificate. Okay? And then we'll take that picture. Tessa Capra. Congratulations, Tessa. Look at this picture with a great job of a reindeer and a Christmas tree. Congratulations and thank you for your effort.
Awesome, Tessa. Thanks.
It's a nice card.
I wish I could draw that well.
Xander. Xander here? There he is. How do you say your last name, Xander?
Adidas.
Dinavides. And look at that, it's skating. You like to skate outside? Congratulations, thank you. Where are you envisioning that you're skating?
New
My
community
Your
center.
backyard.
Not on the canal.
That's great, congratulations. Let's give Xander a round of applause. The next one goes to David John Gillies. He's on the front cover. Congratulations, David John. It's wonderful, great pictures there. Is that old Pelham Town Hall when you drew that? That's awesome, congratulations. I thought I saw that with me there in the photo.
No. No.
That's great.
Picture of
That's good.
Dave.
That's great job. Henry Natham. Look at all the stuff going on in that picture, Henry. That's awesome. Thank you. Great job. Is that a tractor there?
It's a truck.
It's a truck. Okay. Great job. Congratulations very much. Thank you very much for doing that.
Do you give art lessons?
No.
I can't sign up.
Okay, there you go.
Great job.
Let's give Henry a round of applause. Bethany? Langan, how do you say that? Langan? Langland, sorry. I always get the names wrong and I don't want to. Congratulations. Thank you. Look at this picture here with the, do you see that acrobatics of the elf there on the front? That's perfect. Congratulations. You're great artists. Thank you so much.
Congratulations.
Okay, Simona with Olaf. Is that what your inspiration was? Congratulations. Thank you very much. It's a beautiful, beautiful picture of Olaf.
Thank you.
That's wonderful. Is that your favorite movie? Frozen?
What's Olaf's famous line?
Hugs.
That's it.
There we go. Very good. Excellent. There we go. Congratulations and thank you. Let's take a grandpa that watches the movie.
That's it.
Ella Nada. Is Ella here? There she is. Look at this. You've got a kind of an igloo going on here, and excellent, excellent. Thank you very much, Ella, for sharing your artwork. What grade are you in? Grade 3. So that's great. Congratulations, and this
Awesome.
is for you. Thank you. Let's give that out. Monica Pastor. There we are, look at that. And this says, Christmas dreams can always come true. Congratulations, thank you very much, it's beautiful. Is that a book? A book.
A book, oh.
You don't like reading? All right, well, thank you, congratulations. Maybe over the holiday you can read a little bit. Lola Provost. Congratulations, great job on this. Look at all this stuff going on here. We have Santa and the reindeer and all kinds of things. What grade are you in? Grade 4, awesome. Let's give her a round of applause. Grace Sodkey. There she is. We got 3 snowmen, and it looks like they're singing. You like to sing, Grace?
Yeah.
Yeah? Awesome. Congratulations. Ella Thompson. Great job. And you even included the sun in there. That's perfect. Thank you very much. Congratulations. And last but certainly not least, Julia Tremere. Way to go, Julia. Look at, is that your family there, Julia? No, it's not your family? Whose family is it? You don't know. Well, that's a great picture anyways. Look at
Kind of
that.
looks like council, don't it?
Yeah. Great job. Congratulations. That's a very nice. So Wayne, did you want to set up a photo with everybody?
Little ones in front and big guys in the back.
Okay, so we're gonna have Wayne set everybody up. Whoever's tallest, you guys?
Yeah, the taller ones in the back.
In the back.
Little guys in the front,
Little guys like me in the
bigger
front.
guys in the back.
You know what, maybe we don't need too many. We don't need to be in there. Okay?
Closer.
Snap away.
Close.
This way I get to take a photo and put it on Facebook later.
That's it, that's coming, everybody. I'll get you there.
Let me get out of the way here.
There we go, everybody smile. That's it. Good. I got a couple more, just 2 more. Ready, everybody smile? There we go. All ready. Yeah, this is a fun one for me.
Everybody say Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas!
Gotta smile when you say that. That's right.
Okay. Moms and dads and everybody's got their photo. Let's give them another round of applause. And thank you so much.
Kid stole a man's hat.
You're welcome to stay for the whole meeting, but you don't have to.
There's a choice.
So this will be the most fun part. Anyways, thank you for coming. Thank you so much.
What I do is, oh yeah, thanks.
Leaving, thanks again to Natalie, Adriana, Tess, Xander, David John, Henry, Bethany, Simona, Ella, Monica, Lola, Grace, Ella, and Julia, and the many others that have shared their talents here. Our council chamber is decorated with your drawings. Thank you very much for sharing that, and thanks also for bringing your families to be part of this moment.
It's going to be left. It's going to be one person. My friend in the back waving flags.
Exactly. It's not a dream. This is really fantastic, you know. I've never been to Bass Pro before. That is an experience in itself. Yeah, neat story. Not so much as the people who go there.
Thank you for coming. Thanks so much for sharing your talents. Good night. Thank you.
Yeah, it's neat. Just those wacky people who have where they
Well, council will now move on to the rest of our agenda here. There is no report from Regional Councillor Beatty. He's not here this evening. But we did have a vote on Thursday and elected a new chair from among the 30 members of council, and that is Alan Caslin. So Chair Caslin will be serving as the chair of Regional Council for this term, and congratulations to Alan on his election. We'll be next meeting on Thursday, or this coming Thursday, we'll be picking individuals who will be sitting on the various committees at the region, and I'm sure Councillor Beatty will have a report on that in January. Our next item of business is adoption of minutes. It's been moved by Councillor Kersey, second by Councillor Papp, that the following minutes be adopted as printed, circulated, and read. There are four. The first is of the special meeting of council of November 17th. The second, the regular meeting of council, November 17th. The third is the regular meeting of council of December 1st, 2014. That was our inaugural meeting. Thanks to all who participated in that. Especially want to say thank you to those that participated. So that was that included the cadets for helping out, our piper, our singer, which was Anne Mantini, Ann Mantini, and Dr. Reverend Walker was offered the invocation. And as well, thank you to all of the staff, especially Martha Tosher, for putting together a beautiful ceremony, and Kim for ensuring that the facility was beautiful. And we have some other minutes here, and that's from the special meeting of council of December 8th. Any other comments, questions, any errors or omissions? There being none, Councillor Papp?
Special meeting of December 8th.
Yes.
I just want to note, it's just a small correction, the Carriage Hill Condominium Corporation, is it implied there, the resolution states that an inclusion in the 2015 budget, I presumed it's the capital budget.
I believe so.
Okay, is that, if that's implied,
Oh, are you?
it's a question that was asked, are we just using generic
I think we may be just using the generic. Do you want
So
to
we're just
comment,
gonna-
Madam Treasurer?
I'm sorry,
It's not a big deal.
the request from,
That's from the Carriage Hill condominium. They asked that we looked at the installation of storm sewers at Hurricane Road and Pelham Street and be referred for inclusion. It says the 2015 budget. And usually I don't take notice, but I would presume it'd be for the capital
would
budget.
be for capital, yes.
Thank you, that's all I need. Thank you.
And these are the minutes, not the recommendations, but just the minutes.
Yeah.
Okay? So there being no further comments or errors or omissions, I'm going to call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. Thank you. Next, we move to consent agenda. Thank you. Are there any items that members of council would like to lift for separate consideration that we would, instead of considering them in block? Councillor Kersey.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to lift 11.1, recommendations from COW, specifically dealing with municipal grant recommendation.
Okay, thank you. Should we lift the entire item?
Then we'll have a motion to receive all of them. as just
Okay.
amended.
So the clerk is recommending, and I agree, that we will lift the entire item, and then there'll be one motion should there be any amendments to it. Thank you. Any others? There being none, it's been moved by Councillor Junkin, seconded by Councillor Ribbiak, that the following consent agenda items be received and the recommendations contained therein be approved as applicable. Minutes of the Committee of the Whole meeting of November 17th. Staff reports of routine nature for information or action. We have a few of them here. There are 10. The first is Accessible Election 2014 Report, that the issue summary report, Accessible Election 2014 Report, be received for information. The second, Town of Pelham 2014 Annual Progress Report, Multi-Year Accessibility Plan. The motion is that the 2014 to 2017 Multi-Year Accessibility Plan, prepared by the Joint Accessibility Advisory Committee, attached as Appendix A, be received and approved. The next is a renewal of consultant agreement with the Harrington Group. And the motion is that the issue summary report, renewal of a consultation agreement, the Harrington Group Limited, be received, and that the proposal submitted by Harrington Group to provide consulting services to ensure compliance with the Accessibility for Ontarians with Disabilities Act and Ontarians with Disabilities Act, and to coordinate the activities of the Joint Accessibility Advisory Committee, also known as the JAAC, be accepted, and 2, that the clerk be directed to prepare the necessary bylaw authorizing the mayor and clerk to enter an agreement with the Harrington Group for consulting services for a one-year period from February 1st, 2015 to January 31st, 2016, along with other participating municipalities, and 3, that the Town of Pelham continue to participate as a member of the Joint Accessibility Advisory Committee for 2015 at a cost of $10,000, and 4, that any surplus resulting from non-utilized funds be returned to the Town of Pelham to be held in an accessibility reserve to be used to address matters specifically relating to accessibility requirements. The fourth report is the 2015 Council and Committee schedule, and the motion is that the 2015 Council schedule as presented be received and approved. The fifth is the Animal Control Contract Renewal. The Council received the issue sheet, Animal Control Contract Renewal, and the Council approves the Welland District Humane Society as a service provider for the Town of Pelham's animal control, and the Council authorizes the Mayor and Clerk to enter into a 3-year agreement with the Welland and District Humane Society. The sixth report, the Ontario Community Infrastructure Fund formula-based component. The Council received the issue sheet, that Ontario Community Infrastructure Fund formula-based component, and the Council authorized the Mayor and Clerk to enter into a contribution agreement attached, authorizing the execution of the agreement. The seventh item, Canada Heritage Celebrate Canada funding. The Council received the issue sheet, Canada Heritage Celebrate Canada funding, and the Council support an application for funding from the Canada Heritage for the 2015 Celebrate Canada celebrations, i.e. Canada Day. The eighth item, Old Pelham Town Hall Cenotaph Restoration, Veterans Affairs Canada funding. The Council received the issue sheet, and that staff be directed to proceed with restoration of the cenotaph and site as outlined in the issue sheet, and that the Mayor and Clerk be authorized to enter into an agreement with Veterans Affairs Canada for funding. The ninth, 2015 Water and Wastewater Budget Update. The Council received the issue sheet, Budget Update for information, and that's talking about the schedule. And the 10th item, fleet mechanic update, the council received the issue sheet fleet mechanic update for information. Now we have action correspondence of a routine nature. Those were reports. We have a request from G. Groon regarding Cream Street. The correspondence received from Gary Groon requesting the council authorize the opening up of Cream Street road allowance between Foss Road and Sumbler Road be received and referred to the Director of Public Works for review and recommendation report to be submitted to council for consideration before the end of January 2015. We have a letter from S. Rutina with a budget request letter that the 2015 budget request letter submitted by Stan Rutina regarding the inclusion of the Ridgeville area in the Community Improvement Plan area be received and referred for inclusion in the 2015 budget for council's consideration at a future date. The third item, Association of Municipalities of Ontario request to nominate Board of Directors, that the request for nominations to fill vacancies on the 2014-2016 AMO Board of Directors be received. And the Council of the Town of Pelham does and hereby endorse and support Councillor Peter Papp's nomination to the Association of Municipalities of Ontario Board of Directors Rural Caucus for the 2014-2016 term, and that a copy of this resolution be submitted with the nomination. Thank you, Councillor Papp, for letting your name stand for that. We have other information correspondence items. Minister of Finance regarding the Ontario Municipal Partnership Funding Program, the Ontario Good Roads Association regarding nominations for their Board of Directors, the Minister responsible for Senior Affairs regarding Age-Friendly Community Planning Grant, Environmental and Land Tribunals Ontario Notice of Preliminary Hearing, Mothers Against Wind Turbines versus the Ministry of the Environment, and I believe that hearing is this Friday in West Lincoln. A thank you card from the Fawn Hill and District Connect Club, and two requests, one from J&J Florist Limited, request to be the official site for the tourist information in Pelham, and the second from Bloomin' Crazy Garden Center on Regional Road 20, request for the tourist information location. And finally, we have committee minutes for information. Christmas in Pelham Committee minutes of October 16th, Pelham Active Transportation Committee minutes of October 21st, Summerfest Committee minutes of September 23rd, Library Board minutes of September 24th and October 22nd, and Pelham Heritage Advisory Committee meeting minutes of October 16th, 2014. Lots of items there because we haven't met recently, Council, so thank you for your patience on that. Are there any items that Council would like to discuss? Councillor Durley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was mentioned in item 11.5.7 as being in the loop. In fact, the loop consisted of a request that the owner of that property made as to how he may proceed to do this. All I did was advise him that a letter should come to the town and to the chamber. But I'm looking at perhaps it might be a good idea to, since there are two, to ask staff or direct staff to have a look at both and make a recommendation to the chamber as to which would be most advantageous for us. And seeing the two in that way, there's no confusion involved. The one that we would support would be, or the one that staff thought would be the best location would be the one we should support and recommend to the chamber.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Papp, you're a representative on the chamber, and I think you wanted to stand on that as well, and we need to do that again. Do you have any comments on this? I know that you had been involved a little bit and may have brought it to their attention.
I've brought it to their attention, but now we have a second proponent as well that is indicating an interest in doing that. So I would suggest that through staff that they forward those two requests to Ms. Fabiano, and then we have a meeting in January. And at that point, we can work together mutually to figure out what is the best site to use for the tourist information area.
Okay, thank you. So, Councillor Durley, if we can send it to the chamber and let them make their recommendation.
Works for me, Mr.
Okay,
Mayor.
okay, thank you. If that's
Thanks a
okay
lot.
by council, we'll take that as staff direction, if you don't mind, Madam Clerk. Thank you. Other items? Councillor Kersey?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I may be off base on this. It's related to the whole issue of the information booth in Pelham and not specifically to these letters, but I thought it might be worth bringing to the table to have a discussion around the information booth and why, in all deference to the chamber, why we wouldn't bring that in-house and run it ourselves and promote our town by our own community. It's a question, just throw it out there for a point of information.
Okay. Councillor Papp, you want to respond, or do you want to?
No, you go ahead, and then I'll give you.
I was
the
just going to say
history
that
to
my
it.
understanding is that the chamber runs it exclusive themselves. There's very little cost to the town to do it. They get grants from upper levels of government, etc. They provide tourist information in both official languages. But what I would recommend is that there are some costs. Sometimes we set up the phone or something like that and internet. So maybe what we can do is direct staff to also look at that issue, and when the recommendation comes back to us, we can have the discussion. I don't think it's appropriate to have the discussion this evening.
Yep.
But in the future, Councillor Papp, do you want to add anything
Yeah,
to that?
I agree. Historically and by practice, this is the way it's been done, but it does not, that does not discount the opportunity for us to mutually look at an opportunity of us doing it ourselves, particularly in light of, we'll be talking about a greater area about economic development, promotion, marketing of the town, so I think the chamber will be open to that kind of discussion.
Great.
I have no difficulty with that at all.
I have it as staff direction.
Okay, I was just asking the clerk about staff directions. So staff directions to send this off to the chamber.
And
Councillor
discuss
Papp will
those
raise it at
options,
the
and I'll
chamber, and we'll
raise it
bring
at
it
the
back at
chamber.
a future
Yeah.
meeting. Okay?
That's great.
Okay, if everybody's okay with that? All right, thank you. Other items, Councillor Kersey.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Again, points of clarity. Item 11.3.2, accessibility report, and where we are in the progress of meeting this extensive bit of legislation. I noticed near the end of the report, there were a number of items that were pending that were due on January the 1st, 2015, and it's marked pending. I just wondered where we were in that process, and are we going to meet that deadline and on target to do that?
Thank you. I think the clerk is involved in that committee, Madam Clerk.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yes, we are on target to meet all of the deadlines. All staff have been trained in terms of accessible documents and creating accessible documents, and I believe that the accessibility committee consultant was just awaiting my confirmation, which she didn't have at the time of preparing the report.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Anything further, Councillor Kersey? Anyone else on that item? Councillor Kersey on a different item?
A last point, Mr. Mayor, 11.5.3, merely to raise the awareness of the age-friendly grant that's available, and I'm trusting that our diligent staff is out there pounding the pavement for free money, and that we'll certainly look at this application.
Thank you, Madam Treasurer. She's nodding her head vigorously. Thank you, Councillor. Others? Councillor Papp?
Particularly with item 11.3.10, the fleet mechanic update. I thank you for the information. I'm just going to request that later on during the fiscal year that we examine also, I appreciate, because we made this choice to go to in-house. It would also be appreciated to find out the impact that it has on our ability to keep the vehicles up to snuff, up to maintenance levels. And the reason I say that is that I'm sure there are times when that one individual in that group, I mean, I don't know how many vehicles we have, 30, 35 vehicles at one given time. That's a big fleet for one mechanic. And I presume that there are times when we may have to use an outsource, if that's true, that we do outsource it, just so you can clarify in my own, that if you aren't able to do the work, that you are sending it out to an appropriate repair. Is that fair to say?
Who wants to
Who wants
respond to
to-
that? Mr. Mantle?
Yes, the fleet technician, his job is primarily to preventative maintenance and spot repairs, simpler repairs, and getting vehicles back on the road, especially during snowstorms. A couple of units broke down during the recent snowstorms, put us behind. So if he would have been on staff, and theoretically, things would have been moving a lot quicker than they did.
That's good. So I just want to be sure that the latitude and jurisdiction is there to be able to farm it out in case you're stuck, because, one person trying to handle this is a lot of work, and I want to make sure that that's the case. So that was my only, okay, that's good.
You want to comment further?
Goes out, like an engine rebuild or something along those lines.
So you use local larger,
We do, yes.
okay, thanks, that's it.
Okay, thank you. Others? Councillor Papp?
I know it's going to be a red hornet's nest, but I have to raise it at some point. I know we approved our schedule, but at some point down the road, during the summer, I see once again we're meeting full. And I think in the past, we've tried to condense our business, and I like the logistics that have been used to try and shorten our meeting agenda, but we don't need to discuss it tonight, but sometime down the road, in the next few months, if there's ways in which we can, last couple of years, I would say we had a lot of major stuff going on. We had a lot, and I know this summer's probably with what's gonna happen down the street. But I want us to keep in mind also that we don't burn ourselves out, or for that matter, burn staff out too. But I watch other councils, and I think we're getting to a stage where we can actually, I'm going to say, reduce the time spent to make critical decisions. And just so ensuring that summer is there for the purpose that it's there, and particularly when it comes to staff time too. So I'm not how can I say, discounting the fact of what needs to, I know the next 12 to 18 months, but our schedule at some point, I'd like to bring it back and re-examine it depending on workload.
Thank you. I think, I don't know if the CEO wants to comment on that, but I think it was the previous council that approved that schedule where we were to meet because of the items that were there, but we were to meet full on in the summer. And Mr. CEO, do you want to comment on that at this point, or would you recommend bringing something back in, let's say, June, looking ahead at that point, to say whether those meetings are
Necessary.
critical?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I, as it stands today, I would expect we are going to be very busy this summer, but until we get closer, it's going to be hard to pinpoint that. So if there was an opportunity to reduce the amount of meeting times that council had during the summer months, then I, would prefer to wait and bring that
Okay.
early spring.
That's great. That's what I want to know. Is that flexibility always exists, and just to make sure that we're controlling the workload? I know the stream, but whether we want to say that, sometimes we were overloaded. It was just a lot of stuff going on. But we have the jurisdiction at any time. If we want to change things, we can change them. We want to change them for the right purposes and right reasons. And knowing what we have, I'd leave it in your good hands to let us know and signal us that if it's not needed or there's other ways of doing this meeting, then let's examine them.
Councillor Papp, I think council gets involved in a lot of the planning and a lot of those decisions. So this year is less of a planning year, although the spring, there's a lot of planning that we have to approve, and there's some items on the agenda this evening. But I think next year is more of an action year, so you might be right. We might be in a situation, May, June, where we'll know that much of the planning's been done, and it's a series of actions.
I'm not,
If you can leave it with the CAO and I, and we can bring something back.
you and the
in-
clerk can let us know.
And the clerk, May or June, something like that? Okay?
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that discretion.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you. Any others? I do want to mention, we talked about some funding and trying to chase some dollars, but I quickly want to mention that we did receive, as part of these, the Ontario Community Infrastructure Grant formula-based component. So this is a component of funding from the province, and based on that formula calculation, we're receiving $112,000 from the province. And I guess everybody's going to be chasing the remaining half of those dollars. So we look forward to hearing more about that Ontario Community Infrastructure Grant, but great that we have that. And the recommendation that will go into appropriate capital reserves, et cetera, to achieve the things that the province wants us to achieve in terms of roads and bridges and things like that, critical infrastructure. The next is the great news that we received regarding the old Pelham Town Hall cenotaph restoration, working together with the members of the Legion and Veterans Affairs Canada. So kudos to staff for this. This is something that's been asked for a long time, and it's great that there's funding available. $16,800, which is essentially half of the work in order to restore the cenotaph there. And every Remembrance Day for the last number of years, many of us have stood there and said, we need to do something, we need to do something. So great to have this partnership with the federal government and the Legion in order to do this, and pleased that a local Monument Works will be doing the work for us as well to beautify that monument and bringing it up and have it here for the next 100 years. So congratulations to staff for that. So thank you. The wastewater budget update, that will be coming on January 12th. It was anticipated that it would be this evening. And I did have a question for the treasurer, and that is regarding the OOMPH grant, the Ontario Municipal Partnership Funding Program allocations. The letter doesn't indicate what the grant amount is. Do you recall the grant amount for that? I know it keeps declining and they're switching over to this other grant.
Yes, the grant for 2014 was 13,100, and they're estimating that it's going to go down by 20%. However, in the previous years, we ended up with 90%, so it's really not known until the first quarter payment comes in and they've made their final decisions.
Okay. Thank you very much. Anything else, members of council? Councilor Pat?
Just very quickly, I think Councillor Kersey and I were discussing, and I know staff will be pushing aggressively that move forward on applying for the age-friendly community grant. We have done extensive work, as you know, with the Pelham Seniors Advisory Committee over the last 8 months. They're just right on the mark, and they're like laser beam. And this money is very, very helpful, especially as we start moving towards building new communities that are walkable, age-friendly, and that's part of our mandate. So I wish, I hope that, I know you will be aggressive in discussing this, and maybe perhaps even ask some of our local members of provincial parliament to help us access some of those funds, because they were very useful in the city of Welland, and they would be very useful for us and our purposes as well.
Thank you very
Thank
much,
you.
Councillor. Appreciate that. Is there anything else? There being none, I call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. Councillor Kersey, you lifted the first item, which is the recommendations from the committee of the whole meeting of November 17th, and you wanted to speak specifically about that. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I specifically wanted to speak regarding the Municipal Grants Committee recommendation. And my comments here are not to be taken or misconstrued that I didn't appreciate the work of the committee. I certainly did, and all the recommendations that they put forward. In fact, my desire, Mr. Mayor, is to propose an amendment to the first line of the recommendation, which would be supportive of what the future recommendations or policy changes that the committee put forward. And that is that, so my amendment would add to the end of that first resolution, subject to the provision of a current financial statement and or photocopy of a bank statement, current bank statement. This would not necessitate the bringing together of the municipal committee again. It would allow staff to review that, and provided that they do comply with that additional step, then I would be prepared to support this and have those monies put forward to the groups that the committee recommended.
Okay, thank you. Is there a seconder for that motion?
I would second that.
Councillor Ribbiak. So that's under the award of the grant, and that's on, just looking for the page 2 of the minutes of that meeting, is that correct?
It's actually under the recommendations arising.
I'm sorry. Thank you.
And it,
Do you know where it's, so it's going there, that they receive it, and that the recommended for approval is subject to what you said, receiving the bank statement or the.
subject to receipt of a current financial statement, including a balance sheet, or a current bank statement.
Okay,
I have it
okay.
between here, yes.
The clerk has that in the right location. Any further discussion to that? Certainly, as you said, it advances what the committee was recommending. Any further discussion on the amendment? There being none, I call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried on the amendment. And now to the motion to receive and approve the minutes of that meeting as amended, or not the minutes, the resolutions of that meeting as amended. I would call the question unless there's further discussion. All those in favor? Any opposed? And that is carried as amended. Thank you. Next, we will move to, I believe, my report. A couple of significant items since our last council meeting, and that is the Volunteer Appreciation and Peer Awards, which was held on the 19th of November 2014 at Lookout Golf Club. Congratulations and deep appreciation to each of those peer award recipients. The peer award is given to members of community groups, volunteer groups, etc., by their peers, essentially, and we have the honor of presenting it on behalf. We ask those clubs like the Rotary Club who they recommend among themselves to receive an award and the rationale, and then we present that award. So the peer award recipients included Frank Adamson from the Rotary Club of Fonthill and District, Lee Atherton representing the Pelham Supper Market Committee, Jerry Burkout, the Fonthill Lions Club, B. Clark, the Pelham Summerfest Committee, Diane Cumming, the Fenwick Lioness Club, Alyssa Girardi, the Mayor's Youth Advisory Council, Sandra Harding, Communities in Bloom, Del Laney, the Fonthill Lioness Club, Todd Luby, the Canada Day Committee, Joe Marchant, the Pelham Active Transportation Committee, Ross McCarthy, the the Pelham Farmers Market, Tony McKelvery, the Royal Canadian Legion Branch 613, Judy Reed, the Pelham Seniors Advisory Committee, she's the chair, Linda Roach, Pelham Cares, Karen Saylor, the Pelham Art Festival, Carrie Shaughnessy, the 613 Royal Canadian Army Cadets, John Song, Pelham Minor Hockey Association, and Kevin Toomey, the Fonthill and District Kinsman. Congratulations as well to mypelham.com for being awarded the 2014 Corporate Recognition Peer Awards. And special thanks to Councillor King for assisting with the awards presentation and to Martha Tosha for planning and organizing the event. The wonderful thing about that event is that each of the peer groups were honoring those members and saying, actually, a number of them said that they're an inspiration as volunteers to other volunteers. So congratulations and thank you. Great celebration, Christmas Under the Arches on December 5th. Thanks to the Christmas in Pelham volunteers and the staff for organizing the second annual Christmas Under the Arches Outdoor Christmas Market on December 5th. Many thanks to the vendors, the service clubs, the musicians for making the event so wonderful, and the ice carvers as well. Those were great ice carvings and really bring about the true spirit of Christmas. And thanks so much to the hundreds and hundreds of people that participated in the event. The next day was the Pelham Food Drive. Many thanks to the hundreds and hundreds of volunteers who participated in that event as well, the 23rd Annual Pelham Food Drive. Thanks to the Fonthill and Fenwick Lions Clubs for hosting the start of the event, and as well to the Rice Road Greenhouses for being the sorting station. Many volunteers put that event together, from going door to door, unpacking, sorting, repacking, etc. So congratulations and thank you. And again, that event is one of the, for me, the starts of the Christmas season. Another start is the Kinsman Annual Seniors Christmas Party. Pelham Town Hall, Old Pelham Town Hall was packed on December 9th, and it was a great event. Santa showed up as well and handed out some goodies as well. So a wonderful, wonderful event for the 53rd Annual Seniors Christmas Party hosted by the Kinsmen and the Connect Club. And finally, just this past weekend, the Santa Parade in downtown Fenwick, thanks to the fabulous Fenwick Lions and other members of the Pelham Santa Claus Parade for organizing an annual event. Many, many families enjoyed it. Great food, etc., and beverages, and spending time with Santa Claus. Special thanks to the contractors and to town staff for cleaning up the sidewalks and ensuring that the snow was away and out of the area, and it was a great place to watch the parade. So thank you very much to all for participating in those. Those are my report. Or that is my report. It's been moved by Councillor Papp, second by Councillor Kersey, that Mayor Augustine's report for December 15th be received for information. Ready for the question? All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. The next item, now to presentation consideration of reports, staff reports requiring action. It's been moved by Councillor Ribbiak, seconded by Councillor Durley, that the issue summary report encroachment agreement Rocket Lumber be received, and the council authorize the mayor and clerk to enter into an encroachment agreement with Rocket Lumber to be presented to council by bylaw at the next regular meeting of council, and that the proponent be so advised by the clerk. Discussion? Housekeeping matter, taking care of something historically? There is none. I'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried. Been moved by Councillor Durley, second by Councillor Ribbiak, that the issue summary report regarding the requested sign bylaw relief from the Liquor Control Board of Ontario be received, and the council approve the variance to the sign bylaw, section 1210.2.2, to permit the awning sign on the west side of the LCBO building located at 114 Regional Road 20 East, Highway 20 East, to project a maximum of 2 feet from the wall of the building to match the existing incidental awning signage and to be consistent with the LCBO's corporate image, whereas the bylaw currently permits a maximum projection of 1 foot. Questions, comments? There's a lot more to this report than an awning. Councillor Kersey.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Very briefly, at the beginning of the report, staff refers to the wall sign that is to go on the east side of the building, as well requiring a variance, and that is not reflected in the motion as it's presented.
West side. Chief, can you assist? Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Glover.
Thank you. The wall sign, we reviewed all the applications of what they wanted to do for this site, and we determined only one variance is required at this time, being the awning.
Councillor?
Thank you through you, Mr. Mayor. So for clarity then, you, at the beginning of the report,
First line.
you're saying that it says that the bylaw needs a variance to allow the wall sign on the east side of the building and an awning side on the west side. So all I'm saying is, should the motion not reflect that as well?
Perhaps that was poor writing. It meant that they were asking for the wall sign and the awning, and one variance is required for both of those. There's no variance required for the wall sign. It is for the awning sign though.
I see. So the variance is not required for the wall sign? Okay.
Okay, thank you. Others? The report states this is superior to previous design submissions because it does include some greenery there. Councillor Ribbiak?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was going to ask through you whether the planner might be able to explain the progress that is reflected within this motion from the previous position.
Thank you. Mr. Glover?
Thank you. The original submission was for multiple signs on all facades, which said LCBO, LCBO, LCBO. Council took exception as well as planning to that scenario. It's a little bit redundant and a little bit powerful of a message for that site. Council asked them to go back and reconsider an alternative design, which they did. They came back with murals in addition to their LCBO signs, so they took some of their LCBO signs off and put murals up instead. Council thought that might be an improvement yet on that. So the applicant went away, came back with this design with some ivy on the walls, reduced the number of LCBO signs overall, and I think it's a great compromise from what they originally wanted to do, from what town's perspective is what we're recommending they do here.
Thank you. Councillor?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thanks for the report from the planner.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? And thank you for the negotiations on behalf of council. Going to call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. Mr. Glover, can we expect that work to be done soon, or is that something that will be arriving in the spring?
I imagine that you'd want to plant these in the spring.
Thank you. The next item has been moved by Councillor Junkin, and I need a seconder for this, Councillor Papp. The council received the issue sheet regarding the 2015-16 insurance program, and the council approved the 2015 insurance program with Cowan in the amount of $274,088. And the council approved the 2016 insurance program in the amount of $137,044 as part of the 2016 operating budget for the 6-month period ending June 30th, 2016. Discussion. Councillor Papp.
Forgive me, Mr. Mayor, but when I was reading this, and I just trying to understand where it says that it's being offered for 18 months, fine, because the frequency and severity of claims has increased. In what areas? Road conditions, accidents, is that, could someone help me just explain that, or maybe Mr. McAvoy, if you don't mind, and with permission to
Council,
just...
would you be all right?
Yeah.
Mr. McAvoy, can you assist
Just to
the
help.
councillor?
Roads are certainly a big
That the big
portion of it. The slip and falls, we're up over 40,000 per average on claims now. Some of them obviously a bit higher than that. We've tried to, the AMO has tried to get some changes to legislation. That's been,
going nowhere.
no, that hasn't gone anywhere, and unfortunately, we're the ones with the deeper pockets, so to speak. So a lot of times we're it. And that's why I was recommending that increase included the increase of the extra 5 million to 25 million. That's why I'm recommending that.
Okay, thank you. Counselor?
Yeah, I'm worried. I guess what I'm getting at is that as we continue on this road of construction, reconstruction, new construction, that hopefully that we'll reach a point where besides walkable and cyclable, they'll be safer. And that we won't be in a situation, and I say that tongue in cheek, but it's true, because when you have this kind of situation, we've seen it before in another construction period we went through, that when this is coming to finalization, that we may actually, and go to the insurance company and say, can we get a reduction? Have things have changed? You know, maybe things are safer, but anyhow, I'm glad for the, thanks for that clarification.
Okay, thank you. Others? Counselor Kersey?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, perhaps, to Mr. McAvoy. Is the limiting factor of 18 months, would we be better to commit to 2 years, or is it Cowan that won't allow that commitment, or
If I
3
could
years?
get 2 years, I'd definitely be recommending it.
Yeah, so they just
No,
won't.
18 is, actually 18 is kind of unusual. It's something that's relatively new that we brought in a couple years ago. And that's why it's better to have the guarantee period if we, as much as we can get.
Okay?
Yeah, thanks for the clarity.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
good.
Others? Thank you, Mr. McAvoy. We ready for the question? All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. Thanks again, Mr. McAvoy. The next item has been moved by Councilor Ribbiak, seconded by Councilor Durley. The council received the issue sheet Fenwick Downtown Revitalization Project Update 2, and the council approved the additional costs of remediation as part of the Downtown Fenwick Revitalization Project in the amount of $90,000. Discussion. Councilor Kersey, Councilor Papp, go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm not sure who this should be directed to, but I was just wondering whether it would be possible to have our road viewed as a brownfield, that we would be able to apply under a CIP program to the region and try to get some of that money back as a cleaning up of a dirty waste site. I mean, it's really a spillover from several industrial sites, and I wondered whether we might be able to do that.
Creative suggestion.
Yeah.
Mr. Glover, are you aware of the region's brownfield site community improvement plan program?
Unfortunately, I have no knowledge, but I can look into it for the council, of course.
Okay. Thank you. Can we add that as, Mr. C, are you aware of that program?
Yes, I'm aware of it, Mr. Mayor. I'm highly doubtful that we would qualify, but we will look into it.
It's worth asking the question.
Thank you. I think I'll use that to build on that. The region does have some funding for public realm improvements, and council will recall that we received $100,000 for the reconstruction of downtown Font Hill, and additional funds, I think in the order of $27,000 for the arches. I've encouraged staff, as lately as again today, to make sure that we apply for that program, so that is not reflected in the budget that's here. I don't think we need council resolution to apply for that program. Councilor Papp?
Yeah, just along the same lines, I guess you answered it through you, Mr. Mayor, to the treasurer. You're saying that the 90,000 could be funded by reserve or form part of the debenture. Do we know which right now, or we got to wait until all the expenses come in?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Currently, we do not have the funding from the grant opportunity that's available at the region, which would kind of take care of that issue with respect to the extra 90,000. So until all of the unknowns are known, it's up in the air.
Okay, good. So we're leaving our options open, right? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Durley?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I know that the horse is out of the proverbial barn, but the damages that we're forced to repair were not the cause of the towns. Is there any way to retroactively go back and see where the liability was, and if in fact we could tax some liability to the party that did cause the damage to the property? I don't know who can answer
Mr.
this.
CEO, can you answer that?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I can't answer it with certainty. I can speculate, however, that that's not possible. It's again a question that we would have to look into.
That's kind of what I thought, but I just thought I'd throw it out there for discussion. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? And they're making progress on downtown Fenwick, Mr. Mantle? Do we have any timelines for completion? I know this is budget related, but if council will allow, just in terms of the timeline?
It looks like, well, I was there today, it looks like they're moving ahead with the last pieces there between Welland and Maple Street. I see the excavations for the tree planting pits are all ready to go, so my guess is that it'll be the forming up the curb work around those planters and planting the trees. And then my understanding also is that they'll be probably ending work at the end of this week.
They're coming back in the spring, no doubt.
Counting on it, yes.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mantle. Anything further? Councilor Ribbiak?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to complete your question with respect to the hydro poles, what's the timeline on those, Mr. Mantle? Through you, Mr. Mayor.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the hydro poles, the streetlights are on order, the poles are on order yet. So once the poles arrive, then they can pull the existing poles down because we need the lights. There's existing streetlights on those poles that are up right now. So new poles go up, the old poles can come down. I think all the businesses and houses are all connected now to the new electrical system. So it's just simply the streetlights that are up there right now is all they're used for.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good answer.
Okay, thank you. Any others? There being none, I call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried, and we look forward to the results of some of those questions that council asked. The next item has been moved by Councillor Durley, seconded by Councillor Ribbiak, that council receive the issue sheet physician recruitment policy and the council approve the physician recruitment policy. I'm going to turn to the CAO because I thought we already approved this. Mr. CAO.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There was the policy was approved at P&P, provided there was a change in the wording from wages to income. That change has been made, and now council is still required to ratify it.
Okay, thank you. Others? Councillor Papp?
Just help me, Mr. CEO. What's the rationalization? Is it because it has tax implications for us or for the physician? Because there's a distinction between, is there any wage income? I just had this discussion with a physician in another community where they were referring to it as a subsidy. Because he was asking whether he had to report that as part of his, for tax purposes. So it's not, it doesn't have any tax implications for them. It's just strictly a payment to the physician for recruitment purposes. I'm not trying to put words in your mouth. I'm just
Yeah. Mr. CEO? So
Is that stuff fair?
That's my understanding.
Okay, good. All
the
right,
old policy used to say what? Wages?
It used to say
Wages.
wages.
And now it says income subsidies as an option, right?
Yeah, that's more, yeah, okay. Okay, I'm good.
Okay. Anyone else? There being none, I call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. It's been moved by Councillor Ribbiak, seconded by Councillor Junkin, that council receive the issue sheet regarding the update to the town of Pelham's downtown master plan for Fenwick and Font Hill. And further, the council direct planning staff to develop an official plan amendment and hold the required statutory public meeting to solicit feedback on the incorporation of the town of Pelham's downtown master plan for Fenwick and Font Hill into the town's official plan, thereby making the policy's statutory requirements under the Planning Act, if so approved. And further, the council direct planning staff to develop a recommendation report on this matter, which were brought back to council for consideration. Discussion? Councillor Papp, and then a Kersey.
Quickly through you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Director of Planning, how soon do you think you can facilitate this?
Mr. Director?
By the end of spring?
There's a statutory process, 20 notice, 20 appeal, et cetera. We're hoping it in the spring of 2015.
Kudos to you. This has been a long time coming, and just the sooner the better, particularly when we're dealing with other, if you can, it's desperately needed, particularly when I'm thinking of other stuff that's going to be happening downtown. Okay.
Can the meeting be held in January? Is that what the plan is? Just to clarify?
I'm currently debating whether we go for an information meeting and then the public meeting, or we just go straight to public meeting. We have to analyze the comments that we received to date and the process that we've gone through. And once I determine that, I'll recommend whether we go straight to a statutory public meeting or not. The statutory public meeting will bring us quicker to the resolution.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Kersey and then Durley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to our director. Mr. Director, can you outline the scope of what would be included in that statutory part of the downtown master plan, or will it be the whole downtown master plan? Because there was a lot of visioning in that as well, but. Are we dealing primarily with the urban design guidelines, or are we including massing and all of that sort of thing? How are we gonna break that down? Because it was a visionary document, but it also contained some action items, if you will.
So the official plan where we intend to bring it into is a guideline, as a guiding document. The zoning bylaw will be the permissive document below it.
I see.
So we do have some flexibility on what we bring into it. We are working with the consultant right now to scope that and bring the tangible assets of the plan into the official plan so that it is an overall guiding document for us. And then we can translate that into zoning bylaws when applications are forward.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Durley?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the director. Will the proposals that we have been thinking about and talking about for Peace Park be included in this downtown master plan again or not?
There are some, we're currently, perhaps the CAO may wish to speak to the connections of the roadways. The Peace Park plan itself is in here, what we always anticipated and we hope to realize as well. The extension of Station Street, we've had some discussions on whether the Station Street connection should actually come through. There's been some
Okay, I think the councillor was asking about Peace Park, and maybe the other councillor was asking about that extension, so let's talk about Peace Park. Mr. CO?
It's a tricky question because I think that I understand the question to be, Mr. Mayor, that will the improvements to the park be included in the official plan? The answer to that, I don't believe to be so, because it's not a development per se, it's a park improvement. However, the park and the role in the context of the larger downtown area will be included in the official plan amendment, so that Peace Park, as it is envisioned now and into the future, will be part of that overall downtown master plan.
Okay.
Does that help?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
Thank you.
Now, Mr. Glover, I cut you off on the other piece about the roadway, and this is the extension of Churchill, is that?
That's correct. Originally, the downtown master plan showed a connection of Churchill coming through some of the buildings on Pelham Avenue there.
Elm Street.
We've had some thought on that since then to both understand the impacts on the existing commercial area, the viability of the remaining commercial area, and the timing of that we can actually proceed with this in purchasing the building as well as building this road. And with the horizons that we're looking at, at this time, it didn't make sense to show the connections on this road. However, we still maintain the ability to do that in the future. So that's why there's a little bit revision to that road connection. But the intent in the future is still there. It's how we achieve that and the timing we achieve that in.
Okay, thank you. And I think the beauty of doing an open house or a public meeting for sure, and possibly an open house, is that we can hear feedback from the community on that. That could be a change. So is that something that we want to, I think the director's saying, is that something that we want to sort of plan for in the next 3 to 5 years, or is that something that we think is going to be 30 years out? So we need to hear from the community on their thoughts on that. Mr. CEO, any further comments on that? Okay,
No, Mr. Mayor.
thank you. Anything else on that? Councillor Kersey?
Well, again, I guess it gets back to my question. Are we including visioning, or are we including implementation items in the OP? Like, the OP, would we want to have a visionary type of thing, or would we want to deal with it the way we're dealing with Peace Park? Peace Park plays an important role in our community, it's central in our community, but not necessarily are we going to encase the proposal that we've been looking at for Peace Park, in the finite details. So the vision, or the concept that Peace Park must remain, that it is central to our community, it plays a strategic role in our community, can be encased in the OP, but not necessarily what Peace Park will look like in 10 years.
Mr.
I
Glover?
think that's pretty handicapping if we start getting there.
Mr. Glover?
Yeah, again, we're working with our consultant to scope what should be coming in the official plan. That information will be presented at a statutory public
Yeah,
meeting
that's great.
for review and discussion, and then finally a recommendation of what staff believes we should have in there. In terms of the Peace Park in that, there's different aspects. So the downtown core, the roadways and that, there's definite ideas what we want there. Peace Park is a little bit grandiose or a guideline to what we want to see in the future. So obviously that impact, and being town property as well, that impact will be translated into the official plan appropriately.
Okay, thank you. Anything further? There being none, I call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. We look forward to those public meetings. The next item has been moved by Councillor Kersey, seconded by Councillor Papp, that council receive the issue sheet regarding the site master plan for the East Font Hill Mixed Use Center. And further, the council direct planning staff to use the site master plan as the basis for the ongoing planning and design of the East Font Hill Mixed Use Center, including those lands that are owned by the town. And further, the council direct planning staff to develop an official plan amendment and hold the statutory public meeting to solicit feedback on the incorporation of Chapter 3 of the site master plan into the town's official plan, thereby making those policies statutory requirements under the Planning Act. And further, the council direct planning staff to develop a recommendation report on this matter, which will be brought back to council for consideration. Discussion? Mr. CEO, I'm going to ask you to start off. Just give us a little bit of background on this, and then we'll move to Councillor Kersey.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm really thrilled to be able to present this to council tonight. As you're aware, this has been well over a decade of work by the municipality. The last 2 years or so have definitely intensified around the specific site plan, if you will. As council's aware, the secondary plan for East Font Hill requires a site master plan to be done. And going back again to 2.5 years now, council directed me to enter into a discussion with the Allen Group as far as doing a joint site plan, site master plan rather, so that we could maximize East Font Hill to the best of its ability and to ensure that the principles that the town has endorsed, either through design guidelines or through planning direction or through the strategic plan, notably items like maintaining our small town feel as we grow, making sure that we're building a connected community, making sure that the East Font Hill is not segregated from the historic downtown. All of these principles and philosophies, it did take 2 years of considerable amount of work between the various parties in order to come to what we now have. And basically this site plan talks about the background of the evolution of East Font Hill. You'll notice in some of the early pages there's iterations of what the secondary plan eventually looked like. And to put this work into context, the first few illustrations were actually done by hand with pencil crayon. They didn't have the software at the time to be able to do it digitally like we do it today, and you can literally see the change in that illustration ability as we move through, again, 12 plus years. But the story is told of East Font Hill in the introduction. The second chapter, if you will, is the proposed development. We talk about things like development blocks, land use, the built form, all of those principles and philosophies that council has been very passionate about and insistent on. We talk about the trail connections, the open space system, and the street hierarchies, which again is something that's critically important to making this development work. The third chapter is the general urban design architectural control guidelines. Again, we talk about everything from crime prevention through environmental design principles that we've incorporated. One thing that I've been passionate about is having Healthy Communities Index, Community Health Impact Assessment criteria, which is pretty innovative as far as its use in Canada. We talk about public art, orientation and placement of buildings, height and massing, materials, etc. So we're hoping that this particular chapter will be taken and included in the downtown master plan amendment for the OP. That way this would become a legislative requirement to ensure that going ahead the East Font Hill development maintains this design and these elements that we're so insistent on. And then finally, we get into the detailed design for the public realm, which is something that I'm extremely excited about. You'll notice that the fourth chapter deals with the hierarchy of streets, but also there is a lot of cross sections in there that describe the different street treatments. Everything from the pedestrian cycling path on Highway 20, which will make a huge improvement to that runway landing strip that we have as an entrance into our community, to the ceremonial route, as well as Wellspring Way, which will become the main street. And we talk about the stormwater management ponds, the south pond, the north pond that will become a gateway feature as you come in from Thorold into Pelham. That'll be something that I think we'll be very extremely proud of, and will really speak to who we are as Pelhamites, if you will, and will give us that sense of identity and that sense of community when you come into the community. I'm particularly excited about the way that we're going to be handling the internal traffic. We've intentionally designed this development so that there isn't the reliance on, or we're not planning for simply the automobile. Actually, the automobile has had the least amount of attention paid to it as far as the street hierarchy and the street design. And on those street designs, you'll notice that in the center of the development is a large square. We're talking the order of approximately 2 acres of land that we will be developing a very active, pedestrian-orientated heart of the area. We're looking for a water feature for the summer, a skating feature for the winter, a place where we can have ceremonial events, a place where we can have community celebrations, and a place where people can just go because it's a beautiful place to be. And that really has been the driving force behind it. We're going to be using a concept called a WUNERF, or otherwise known as a shared space, where the surface of the intersection in the middle of the development is not a traditional asphalt paved road. Rather, it's a series of hardscape surfaces that change and undulate in color that send cues to the driver that where and how the vehicle should be orientated. But there isn't going to be things like street signs and parking signs and crosswalk lights. You won't have to ask for permission to cross the street in East Fawn Hill. You'll be able to navigate it as a pedestrian, having this whole area designed for the person on the site, on the bicycle, or the person walking, and the person in the car is going to be asked to use their intelligence to maneuver through this space, providing what we think is extremely common in other parts of the world, traffic calming measures, but certainly not something that is seen in the Canadian or in the Ontario context. And finally, this sets the stage for, I think, a development that the community can be really proud of, a development that is certainly, I think, the best that I've had the opportunity to be involved with. And we, to that end, we have been nominated for a Niagara Region Planning Award with this, and planning to be nominated for an OPPI, which is the only Ontario Planners Institute award. And we're also planning to be nominated for a Congress of New Urbanism International Award for this. So I'm, again, extremely pleased. And if we want to celebrate a success, I truly believe this is a significant success for the community.
Thank you very much, Mr. CAO. Appreciate that overview of the document, and certainly your work and the staff's work on this. And really it does, I'm going to add this before I go to Councillor Kersey. 2 things, I guess. It really does follow up and take that vision that we've heard through the last 13, 14 years from the community, and the drawings are here, as you indicated. The vision from the community, folks want this new development to be connected. They want trails. They want the natural areas to be highlighted and utilized, and also protected. They want growth that is appropriate for our community. They want a walkable community. So all these elements are just the natural progression of those wants and wishes that we've heard from the community over the years. And then the final thing, just a piece of information that was missing, which is that this was put forward to council. I just want to remind council in February of 2004 as a draft. It's come a long way since that draft. but we did put it out to the public to get feedback on it. So it would be, the recommendation is then to have an actual statutory public meeting to get further feedback now that it's progressed significantly. Thank you, Mr. CAO, and now Councillor Kersey.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a very mundane question to ask in light of all of the information that's been put
That's
forward
okay.
and all of those that worked on it. I would echo your comments. I think they've done a tremendous job. It's very visionary. It will certainly help to maintain the small town feel and those things that we as council stood up and said, no, we're not bending on this, this is what we want. My question, Mr. Mayor, is basically, this proposal that we have before us seems to be dealing with only the East Fonthill Mixed-Use Center. And I'm wondering if we are encasing in the OP amendment such things as urban design guidelines and architectural control guidelines. Should we not be encasing those elements in the rest of the East Fonthill lands as well and make them extend into those lands as those subdivisions come forward? So that basically my question. Thank you.
It's not really mundane. Councillor, Mr. CO.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. To answer the councillor's question, the answer is, I think, contained in the secondary plan, the East Fonthill secondary plan, which is now in force and effect, which does deal with a lot of the residential type planning matters with regards to the remaining part of East Fonthill. The secondary plan called for this site master plan to be done specific to these lands. The residential components of East Fonthill are covered separately within the secondary plan, and I believe address the issues that you've raised as far as built form, connectivity, density requirements, architectural controls, etc.
Councillor?
I'm not sure that they are there. I raised the issue when Rosewood came up as to whether they were there, and was advised that they were not, and that they would be put forward when future subdivisions came forward, when the OP amendment came forward. So
Let's hear from Mr. Glover. He's eager to answer. Mr. Glover.
You're absolutely correct. This amendment here, this site plan, deals with the mixed-use area. We're so excited about the development that's happening here in this mixed-use area, and what we've seen here. We're actually going to bring a report back to you next council as soon as possible to recommend, again, that not only this portion of the plan, but the entire demonstration plan and the urban design guidelines of that plan be incorporated into the official plan as statutory requirements to accomplish exactly what you're saying. Wonderful.
Very good. Thank you. Councillor Pop?
That's very, very, like I say, I'm glad to see that, because I've actually downloaded the thing and looked at this. This is a major, dramatic change to the way in which communities are being planned. And I would say maybe not dramatic to some other parts of the world or other parts of the, so I think it's worthwhile for you, I think, Mr. Mayor, you're right, is to have a public input that once again, for some of us, Councilor Durley and I, who've been here 10 years or more, we've been through all the manifestations and all the things that have occurred, both good and bad. Now we've got it articulated in such a manner that I think the general public would be really fascinated to see, is it going to work? How's it going to work? Because I'm just thinking, looking at some of the drawings along some of the major roadways, it's going to definitely reshape the way in which that whole corridor, for that matter, Rice Road and Highway 20 look, let alone the residential, but all the commercial. So kudos, this is, I'm very fascinated by this, and I think a lot of other people, the general public, would like to see how this is all going to work. The sidewalks, the trees, you know, how does, it's not only visually described, but the way in which it would actually functionally work. That's one of my favorite words. How does it all tie into how everything interacts with each other throughout that whole subdivision? So, and I have been asked questions, you know, people say, well, what do you plan on doing that besides, you know, well, we're building a community center. No, now this describes the raison d'etre of why we're actually doing it and how we're doing it. And finally, word has got out, and I was mentioning to both the CEO and the mayor, and some of you know, external investors are very fascinated by those who are linked into this type and have done this kind of work, are very interested and want to see us move forward and are prepared to put investment in here into those types of components in that area. That's critical, particularly if we're trying to build that whole, like I say, acronym of stay, live here, play here, work here, whatever the case may be, because we are fitting this to suit your lifestyle, and that's critical. I remember Richard Florida, those seminars that we went to, always describing where do people want to work, live, and play. And these are the components that I can see are all there that would, if I was someone coming from another part of the country, say, you know, this looks good to me. Good way to get around, good place to work, shop, medical, all of it's all there. So I can hardly wait.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Durley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is very exciting, and I'm pleased to see that we have a blank canvas there, and we are going to be painting a masterpiece rather than stick figure pictures. So really exciting, and keep up the good work, and make sure that we follow through with it, because that is what everybody appears to want.
Thank you, Councillor. Others? Just want to comment, Councillor Papp, you talked about the timing, and I think the CAO alluded to that as well. Former Mayor Beamer was actually at the inaugural meeting.
Yeah.
And we were talking about the official plan amendment and the East Vaughan Hills secondary plan and how it took a while to get done, the 13, 14 years. And Mr. Beamer indicated that he said it took 13 years to get to the stage where the Ontario Municipal Board added that land to the urban boundary. So really, this is a generation in the making, a quarter of a century. So we have a chance to, as Councillor Durley indicated, this is a blank canvas. We have a chance to turn it into a masterpiece, and hopefully we are doing that with this plan, and we look forward to public feedback. Mr. Glover, this will be, we're hoping again in January for this meeting, is that correct? Or what's the timing of the meeting, I should ask?
We hope in spring. We have to coordinate whether we do the information session or go straight to the public meeting, as well as we're going to also bring another report to council next meeting to look at the whole East Vaughan Hill area instead of just the mixed use area. So how that will tie into it as well.
Okay. Would you do all 2 or 3 together?
Yeah, I would suggest.
I think that we would do the downtown master plan and the East Vaughan Hill separately.
Okay.
So it's clear what the topic is.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. Anything further? There being none. Ready for the question? All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried.
Mr. Mayor, this is going to be available on the website?
Mr. CEO?
Yes, that's correct, Mr. Mayor. We're also going to have printed copies done so that we can hand those out.
Have them at the libraries, available at Town Hall, et cetera, so folks can look through them. And available, maybe we can do some information, news releases, all that stuff about it. Okay, thank you. The next item is some unfinished business, and it's been moved by Councillor Papp, seconded by Councillor Kersey, that the Director of Public Works as the Town of Pelham's Road Authority, namely Mr. Mannell, be authorized by Council for the Town of Pelham to sign the necessary drainage positions as landowner on behalf of the Town of Pelham and in accordance with the requirements under the Drainage Act. Any discussion? Pretty straightforward, a housekeeping issue, I believe. Going to call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. Sign away, Mr. Mannell. Thank you. The next item has been, is presentation consideration of bylaws. It's been moved by Councillor Ribbiak, seconded by Councillor Junkin, that the Council of the Town of Pelham, having given due consideration to the following bylaw, do now read a first, second, and third time and do pass the same in the mayor and clerk, be and are hereby authorized to sign and seal the bylaws, being a bylaw authorizing the borrowing of money to meet current expenditures for the period of December 31st, 2018, and to repeal bylaw 3335, 2013. The second being a bylaw to authorize the mayor and clerk to enter into an agreement with the Welland District Humane Society for the prevention of cruelty to animals, to appoint the said society as animal control officers for the town of Pelham, and to repeal and replace bylaw 3174, which was approved in 2011. Number 3 being a bylaw to authorize the interim financing of $2 million for the town of Pelham. Number 4 being a bylaw to authorize the mayor and clerk to enter into an agreement with Her Majesty the Queen in right of Ontario, as represented by the Minister of Agriculture, Food and Rural Affairs, for the Ontario Community Infrastructure Fund formula-based component. Discussion? Oh, I'm sorry, Councillor Papp?
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, quick question through you to the treasurer. The Humane Society, do we pay them on incident basis, or is that how they're paid? Because I see there's minimum and maximums for every quarter. How is that? How do we,
chief or the
or
treasurer?
chief?
Mr. Chief?
Through Mr. Mayor, it's a set contract and we pay them quarterly. So,
But yeah, I agree, Chief, but it says it could be to a maximum, so what does that mean? Is that based on per incident that they charge us?
No, it's a set amount.
Set
Plus animal removal is built into that. And but anything that, as far as, really I don't know the language on that. Not familiar with the language.
Is it regarding the maximum, Counselor?
Yeah, just, I mean, it's not a.
Which
it's not a
number
big-
is it in the-
On item 7 in the agreement, it says to pay the sum of $8,610 to the maximum of $34,000 for 1 year. So I'm trying to,
That's quarterly payment, and
Quarterly.
then,
Okay, so-
the annual amounts to 30.
so those are fixed things, fixed prices each quarter for each service delivered. It's not done by incident.
No.
Okay, thank you. That's all I need to know.
14 days following the end of each quarter of the year.
Okay,
is
I
what
got it.
says.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Others? Counselor Cruz?
I just had a question, Mr. Mayor, through you to our treasurer for clarity. The short-term financing that we're doing here with the LOC and also the borrowing of the other 2 million, does that impact on our borrowing limits that are established by the province? Do they look at short-term financing, or are they looking only at long-term debenture type borrowing?
Mr. Mayor, all the debt that you take out, whether it's short-term or long-term, is
Part of that.
considered part of the debt repayment limit.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, anything else?
No.
There being none, I call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. We do have an in-camera portion of the meeting, but as is our practice, it's been moved by Councillor Durley, seconded by Councillor Ribbiak. The council recess the in-camera portion of the meeting and reconvene immediately following the committee meeting scheduled for this evening. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. We'll now take a brief recess before we start committee. A 5-minute break. Thank you.